Welcome to the Relaxed Dog Podcast, the podcast where the dogs are the stars of the show. Welcome to episode 59 of the Relaxed Dog Podcast, sponsored by therelaxeddog.com. Thank you very much for finding this podcast. I am your host, Robert Ober, and I hope that you and your dog are well. Welcome back to all our regular listeners, and a special welcome if this is your first show. My guest this week is Lauren Hoyle, and she'll be talking about her Staffy Cross Lucky Dog. But first, in some doggy news, in the US, in Cincinnati, a dog by the name of Gertie went missing from her owner's home, who thought she ran into the local woods. She made some posters, asked around, obviously went looking for a while. 5 days later, a neighbour heard some dog noises coming from very close to their house. In fact, the noises were coming from within their garage. On investigation, Gertie had somehow got down into a crevice between the garage and the yard, and there was no obvious way of getting her out. So the local fire brigade was called in and proceeded to put a hole into the concrete block garage. And after about 10 minutes work, a tired and hungry Gertie was reunited with her owner. And we moved to South Korea, where animal rights activists and dog lovers everywhere will be rejoicing a little bit, because the Tapyeong, the largest dog meat slaughterhouse in South Korea, has finally been closed up by authorities. The city authorities say they are going to now turn that whole area into a neighbourhood park where dogs will be welcome to enjoy the freedom of some public space there. And now for this week's interview. Also, just a quick apology. Had a few issues with the audio quality in this one, but nevertheless, here it is. Welcome to the Relaxed Dog Podcast. I'm here with Lauren Hoyle. How are you?
I'm well, thank you, Robert. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's absolute pleasure. How is everything going this evening?
Everything's going very well. We're all nice and relaxed. Everyone's sorted, dog's sorted. I'm here to chill.
And for those people listening, Lauren is in Sydney, so we've got a few little restrictions happening at the moment.
A lot of restrictions, but that's okay. We're getting through it. Yeah.
So on to something a lot more pleasant, and that's the subject of dogs. So who are we going to talk about with tonight for?
Lucky Dog.
Lucky Dog.
Knows me. Yeah, Lucky Dog. I think everyone knows me. Anyone that knows me knows of my Lucky Dog. Whoever she met, she sort of left a little paw print on everyone's heart. She was a bit of a special dog. I know a lot of people say that about their dogs, but she was a very special little dog. So, yeah.
Looking forward to it. So,
yeah. I wasn't really looking for a dog at the time. I had 2 terrier type mixed dogs, and I had a Rottweiler cross. And at that time, I was doing that was sort of like my behaviour team. I was doing behaviour training, obedience training here on the Northern Beaches, and I had Mika, Toby, and Daisy. I wasn't really looking for other dogs, but they were getting a little bit long in the tooth, getting a little older. And it was very early in the morning on the 1st of July, 2012. I'll never forget that date. My eldest daughter was going out past Catherine Field, which is way out, I don't even know if it's on the map. She was looking at horses, but she found this puppy going through rubbish in a dumpster. She was emaciated, not in a very good way. So she rang me and said, "Oh, found a puppy. Can I bring it home?" It's like, okay, bring it home. We'll feed it up to her, train her, and we'll move her right along. That didn't happen. She was some sort of Staffy mix. She was a bit of a licorice, all sorts. I think she was about 4.5, 5 months old when she came to us. She was extremely underweight, just judging by, ribs, bones, spine, everything sticking out, but judging by her teeth, she was about 4.5, 5 months old. She seemed to fit in with the group, and just as time went by, she ended up staying a bit longer and longer and longer, and just ended up staying. So I developed her. She seemed to be a nice little dog. She was very soft, very clever, but a very soft-natured little dog. So when I say little, she was only about 24 kilos or so. So I sort of, you go on, you do the training, you do the exposure, you sort of take her out. And I'd never had this happen to me before when I would take all my other dogs out, when they'd be on lead or off lead. I'd never been charged at by other dogs. I think Lucky and I just used to walk around with loser on our foreheads because she was the only dog where I had to endure, it was about 6 or 7 off-lead dogs rushing us.
Wow.
And the last 2 that we had kind of finished her off. They broke her a little bit. And it took, that was in a secondary fear phase. We were 12, 13 months old when the last 2 happened. And then she became quite a little dog that had true intensity when she would go forward. She was a silent assassin. So then I was left with the conundrum of whether I should a trainer like me have a dog like this. And I did actually think of rehoming her. But then I actually thought that if I can't fix my dog, what sort of trainer am I?
Mm-hmm.
So it probably took over 12 to 18 months, and it took a village. There was people like Glenn Cook, Pat Stewart, Andrew Clark, a lot of tears, Birdie.
Certainly a great team.
Oh, the best. But just to kind of bring her around, and I think that the people that knew her when she was, people knew her sort of on the other side of it, you would never know. I did a lot of mistakes with her, but she was the dog that truly, I think I was probably a little bit arrogant in the beginning when I had just the Rottweiler cross and the 2 terrier types, because they were push button perfect. So if I came across somebody with a difficult dog, I very embarrassed to say that I think I was of the mindset that it was them, not the dog. Now I know, and I can really understand, and I can very much, I know what they're going through when you do have a difficult dog, all the, how hard it is to manage and how hard it is to bring them along. But she was incredible. She was extremely intelligent. I got her to the point where she still wanted to chow down on dogs for dinner if I'd let her, but she was so beautifully trained, verbally responsive, that if I asked her to do something, she would stick to it to the last dotted I and crossed T. So I could use her. She was an amazing dog. She was like my right hand. I could have her in behavioural consultations. She was so relaxed and she didn't care. And she and I made a great team. I could read her beautifully. When she knew that the other dog was done, we finished the session. So she did bring a lot of dogs along. She had a few dogs that she was good mates with, but in general, she was not a party girl. So I did learn a lot. I learned a lot from her. She was the one that really changed the way that I thought about training. She was the one that changed the way I approached it. And she was the one that I think gave me empathy, for difficult dogs and trying to understand them more. And sort of, she was one in a million. She was the brightest light, and it dimmed far too early. She didn't make it to her birthday.
Always.
I think being emaciated, she blew out both cruciates. And then her frame was just not very strong. She was on great food, fed her raw. She was beautiful and lean, very sort of sculpted at the front end, but a little bit trim, and I couldn't really build up the back end. So I think things were going on there. She was very stoic, but she had to leave me just before her 5th birthday, unfortunately. There you go. Yeah, so it's hard.
So, just want to go back to the initial introduction into the household and how she fitted into the existing pack.
Oh, she was tiny. She was only about 4 kilos when I got her, I think. Came in, she's very, very timid. But the 3 dogs that I had were extremely good with other dogs. So the 2 female dogs mothered her, and Toby was he's a wire-haired Jack Russell cross. He was just a true gentleman. He'd meet and greet. He just kind of looked after her. So just got to the point where you just find for the 2 small ones, you'd see a 3-dog pile up in the bed, all that sort of thing. She'd turn around, she'd go snuggle with the Rottweiler. So there was no dramas at all introducing her, Toby, Daisy, and Mika. She just became part of the group.
And was the home environment like? Were they just all in the house, free ranging, or?
All my dogs are indoor dogs. So they're inside, free ranging. They go out to the backyard if they want to. Generally, the doors open sort of throughout the day, so they can come and go. All my dogs are indoor dogs. On the odd occasion, I did board and trains, and Lucky was really good with that sort of thing. She'd pick and choose her dogs. They would be crated. The board and trains would be crated in the house. And I never really had any. I've been lucky that all the dogs. I'm down to 1 dog now. That's my German Shepherd Kubo. See him running around in the background. I haven't had any in-house fighting or anything with my dogs. I've been very lucky that way. But she was a nutter. The morning routine, she would get up and she would do her, being a Staffy mix, she would get up and she would have her morning zoomies up down the hallway. They're not supposed to run in the house, but because it was so cute, I kind of allowed it. It was all right. But yeah, she got along extremely well with all my other dogs. She was a very, very good dog that way. Yeah.
Is there sort of like a particular one that she had a closer bond with, or?
I don't think she had a closer bond with any one dog. I think she saw them all because they were all quite an integral part of her when she came here. I think that they all gave her a little bit of something. Towards the end, when my Roddy Cross started to get a little bit more frail, Lucky did think that she could step up and try and challenge top dog spot, because Mika really was. She was a calm, confident, very fair dog. She was a beautiful, soft alpha. I think Lucky Dog tried to step up and kind of challenge that. She was not a good alpha. So that was probably the only kink in the road, but she didn't have any her morning zoomies. Toby would always join in. But then, you turn around and then she'd be snuggling up with Daisy. Daisy would be sort of like, she'd be using Daisy as a pillow, or she'd just sort of be spooning with Mika. So there was no real favoritism with her. But yeah, she was terrific.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So you mentioned sleeping. What were the sleeping arrangements?
Well, Lucky Dog always had a crate. The other 3 were allowed to be sort of out in the house. But Lucky Dog always had a crate, particularly as my Mika got a little older. I just didn't quite 100% trust Lucky if I wasn't there. I didn't want to set her up to fail at all. So she had a crate that was in the family room, and the other 3 dogs just would sleep on their beds sort of around the place. They didn't, they didn't, they were allowed to do what they wanted. But yeah, Lucky Dog was always crated when I wasn't there, just to make sure. So yeah, I'm not sure what it was, particularly as Mika got a little older. she would sometimes challenge, and I just didn't want that to be the case if I wasn't there. I didn't want me getting put in that situation. So, yeah. Everyone was crated. I'm a big crate trainer anyway. Kubo runs around. He's not the crate in the house. He's so big. The crate will take up most of the house. But to begin with, any new dog that comes into my house is crated for quite some time until they learn about trust and the boundaries and so on.
Nice. So what about the size of your backyard?
I'm lucky enough to have quite a nice big backyard, so the dogs go out there. I do quite a little bit of training out there, run around, we play with balls and stuff outside. So, but again, the dogs are not really out there. I like to go, we've got a nice back porch area with a, pergola over the top, a nice couch out there. It's quite often that's where you'll find me in the morning having my, tankard of coffee to get going. And all the dogs have sort of been out there sort of sharing that space with me sort of over time. But yeah, the backyard is sort of where we do a little bit of training, we'll play a bit of ball, or just kind of hang out, do some stuff. So, yeah, nice big backyard. I'm lucky. I think backyards are becoming a thing of the past, particularly in Sydney. Whew, there you go.
That's true.
That's why the housing prices are going.
Going out for walks and things in other areas, how did that go when she was young?
Well, as I said, whenever I would go out, and look, that actually affected my mind too, is we would go out, as I said, with Toby, Daisy and Mika, never had one dog rush us. I've got Kubo, no dogs rush us. I don't know whether she projected anything. I don't know. I would always go out. I'd have 2 or 3 meter lead that I would sort of give her a bit of freedom on. But I never really had her off lead because she wasn't, although her recall was good, if another dog came to approach her and would start something, she wouldn't stop. So whenever I went out with her, that was back in the day where there's a lot of workshops and all of that sort of thing at Jewel too, so I would take her along to that. So a lot of people met her there. But I would sort of go out and I would always have a lead dragging so I could just grab it and keep her safe. But I was always very mindful of managing her. I'm not a big one for off-lead dog parks at all. I don't like them. But if we went away, there was a couple of times we'd go away for farm stays and stuff like that, and you just have a lead dragging on a 10-metre long line. She would have freedom then. So she got a lot of exercise. We would sort of be out and about every day. I sort of like to take the dogs out every day. But she was probably the only dog that I've really had to sort of manage when we go out, not just for keeping her safe, keeping any other dogs if they would come near us safe. So, yeah.
So you just mentioned going on a farm stay. How was her interaction with some other species?
Just fine. She's absolutely fine. Thought the cows were pretty groovy. I boiled the chickens a little bit, but it's like, okay. But no, we've done a lot of that I do a lot of that with my dogs, and they're just sort of taught they're not allowed to kill wildlife or do anything like that. And I sort of train them out of that. We've got water dragons in the backyard because there's a creek behind us, all that sort of thing. So, we just do a lot of training that way, and she didn't mind it. She was actually really good. As I said, that dog had the most superb verbal compliance. She had to, because if you asked her to do something, she needed to do it in order to keep herself safe and keep other dogs safe and other things safe. So, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
So you just mentioned you had a creek in the backyard. So how?
Yeah, we've got a reserve just behind our place. I've been living in where I'm living. Been here for about 25 years now. So I can just whip out the back. And, it's a lovely green area. I can just, if I'm running a bit short of time, I go out there. It's got, I can just do some fun training with Kubo. I've done it with all of my dogs actually. Go out there, throw the ball around, and just sort of chill out and do some fun training. If anybody else sort of comes down or their dogs, I just put mine in a drop and they go into middle, and it's no dramas at all.
Nice.
I do live in a nice spot. Very lucky that way.
How was Lucky with the water?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And the dirtier, better. She'd always like to go out in the rain and thunderstorms, all that sort of thing. You get out and go and play in the rain. But Lucky Dog really loved it. And she really loved to go. I'd just put my gum boots on and we'd just go off for a walk, and any puddle she'd go running in, all that sort of thing. We can't go in there anymore because it's a dog-free zone now, but there was a place that I used to go up to near the swimming pool, the Warringah Aquatic Centre. There's a softball oval there, and it was all fenced in, and that's where I could actually let her run. I'd have a 10-metre long line dragging, and she could just run, jump in the puddles and chase the ball and do a little bit of fun training there. But she just, the dirtier the better. She loved it.
Nice.
A little bit. Her coat was so short, though, that it did take long to dry, and the dirt would just drop off, which was good.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome.
Find some interesting scents and things to roll in that make sense to doggies to do, but when people sort of think, whoa, that's a bit sort of like hard on the nose.
Yeah. If she found it, she'd roll in it. It was just like, oh, God, get out of it. And she'd come up. She'd be so happy. It all down the side of her head. But she'd just think, you look at this perfume, Mum, and it'd be like, okay. Yeah. And she was pretty good. She was lovely.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and
just the dirty water.
make any trips to the beach as well, or?
Not with her.
No.
No, I didn't. I needed to go remote. But sort of back then too, I did because I was worried, and also her breed. I was worried about keeping her safe and not setting her up to fail in any way. So you go to these places and you just can't. If the other person can't control their dog, well, then I've got a dog fight on my hands.
Mm.
So with all the other dogs I've had, I can control my dogs, I can keep them with me, and I can just manage to get the other people away. But with Lucky Dog, it's always in the back of my mind that she'd be tolerant to a level, but then she'd snap and she would have it, And I just didn't want to risk it. My other dogs would go off to the bush, off to the beach, all that sort of thing. But with Lucky Dog, whenever we went out, it was one of those things where I just had to be very careful, very planning. And look, I'd go out. I wasn't that nervous, I'd go out with Birdie. Lucky Dog and Luna would be going walking, and they'd have a quick, they'd be out the front, in front of us on their leads and everything. And they'd be very happily walking together. My neighbours have actually, their dog, Lucky Dog, was a very good friend of as well. So we'd actually have her into backyard play. So she wasn't missing out. She'd get a lot of freedom. But I just couldn't have her off lead in areas that I wasn't able to 100% control because I wasn't sure of the other dogs. So
Understandable.
Yeah.
So when you did go out with the trips in the car, where was her spot in the car?
Loved it. She would be in a crate in the boot.
Mm.
And she would be sitting up, she'd be having a little bit. She used to love the car. She would love it. And I'd have her in the crate, and she would be, if we went to workshops and things, she would be sitting there, and she'd just love it. She absolutely loved it. So, yeah. So, always, all my dogs are crated in cars. I don't have them sort of free roaming. So, and
nice
they love
and
it.
safe.
Oh, yeah. So, and look, they're all, the two little ones used to be in a crate on the back seat, which was secured, but all my dogs have been in crates in the car. You just hear those horror stories where people, sort of have their dogs just sort of sitting around and they go flying through the car if they get a rear end collision or something. So, crate in the back, nice and safe.
Mm.
Yeah.
So when she was younger, what do you think her favourite sort of like games and things like that were?
All the way. Tug of war. She loved it. Couldn't get enough of it. She was the tug of war queen. It was her toy. Get her a tug toy and she would just, you'd just say ready, eyes would roll back in her head and she would be ready to go. She would love it. So tug all the way. She liked ball, but tug all the way.
Tug.
Fantastic.
Did she play with the other dogs? Tug?
Yeah, she would. She was awesome because she would and she was a dog that I used to actually help children if they had dog phobia. So she would actually lower and raise her level of strength when she would play with children. So she was, you can't really teach a dog that, but she was incredible. So, you get kids running around with the tug, and I'm always supervising, because even my dogs who I trust 100%, we can't really trust them 100%, but always supervising. Children would want to play with her, and if they were tiny little toddlers, she'd actually lie down and just kind of move her head a little bit. And if they were a bit bigger, she'd sort of stand up and she'd let them win. And she was incredible. One child just got, she just sort of seemed to have this, she just knew what to do. I didn't teach her. She knew the word gentle. I'd say gentle, but she just knew what to do. She was quite a phenomenal dog that way. None of my other dogs have done that. So
that's beautiful.
Quite incredible when she was working with children. Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose like people, there are a lot of dogs that have just got that intuition on a whole different level.
You can't teach it. They've either got it or they haven't. And she certainly had it. She was incredible. Very special little dog. Yeah.
So
I've
knowing
even got photos.
Tug was a favourite game, were there many toys that she went through that survived?
Look, I'm a dog trainer, so she would have her toys sprinkled around, but the toys never got left out. I'm a bit nasty-pasty that way. So all my dogs, if we find the toy that they absolutely love, they get put away, and that's what we use to create an event. So she knew. So but I've got toys in the back of the car. I've got toys sort of, tucked away outside that they can't get to. I've got toys everywhere. But the toys that are special, they're the ones that come out when we're going to do something fabulous.
I like it.
Oh my God, when she saw that tug come out, she was like, oh my God, what's going to happen? She loved it. Absolutely loved it. She was really cool too. So I took a few videos of her, because she was, for her, it was very clear to see when you have your start and finish where it's like, you're ready, and then you say finish. You could see her power up, and as soon as you say finish, she would just power down. And it was you can't really explain that to people. When you can see it, they go, oh. So I've got quite a few videos of her playing tug and sort of mucking around. And she was a really good little teacher. She was the flagship of perfect behaviour for quite some time. Everyone knew her. You'd sort of be walking along, and then you get this toot. Somebody's seen the dog. So it's not about me, it's about my dogs. Everyone knows the dogs. So she was a pretty groovy little girl.
Very nice. The initial stages, did she sort of like tug or grab things that she didn't when she was first sort of brought into the house, first few months?
She was very quiet when she first came into the house. I think she was a bit shell-shocked. It's very hard. I don't know, whether she was run to the litter and dumped, or she had some pretty serious scarring on her little body. So I don't know whether she was a street kid or what. But she took a little while to come out of her shell. She was fairly quiet. Then when she did start to, her little personality did start to come out. She did, if it wasn't tug, we would have found something else that she liked. So, but yeah, I just kept working on different things. Start off with something really soft. I think it was like a teddy that would just sort of started off, and then she sort of put her mouth on it. She got high praise, and she's so clever. It didn't take her long. She's like, here we go. So, and I think Toby and Daisy, my mini Foxy cross, and my Whitehead Jack Russell cross, they used to play tug a lot together as well.
Mm-hmm.
And, there is something said for dogs learning through mimicry. She would watch them. My Mika, my Roddy cross, she used to like balls. She was not a tugger. She would always like balls. So, Lucky Dog tried running after balls and sort of doing all that sort of thing. She's like, nah, okay. But then tug, when she found the joy of it, she took it very seriously. She loved it. So, yeah, she's there. She's probably the one that is most into the tug. She really enjoyed it. It was great. I love gameplay with dogs. It's fantastic. So she was fun to play with.
What about any sort of like health issues that you sort of we touched on a couple?
Health-wise, she was okay, but her frame let her down. She was, as I said, I kept my dog lean. She was very strong, very fit. But the first leg went. She had to go and have an operation on that. And the supporting leg bowed out, became a bit, it was weakened. So she sort of like, as it was all sort of, the leg that was operated on sort of not really healing, while it was healing, the supporting leg kept bowing out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was okay. So within 11 months, the second leg went. So it just got to the point that they were both really bowed, and she became very, very aggressive. I had to start muzzling her because I think the pain got to the point where she just couldn't. She just kind of could see it in her eyes. She wasn't there anymore. So I had to let her go. You could it wasn't Lucky Dog anymore. She wasn't. She's miserable. So the second operation on the second leg, I don't know what happened. She was okay. It seemed to be recovering. Now I'm very strict. If a vet tells me to, 6-8 weeks crate rest, that's exactly what she got. She come out, she had 5 minutes wee time, a little bit of sniff, and straight back in the crate. She wasn't allowed any freedom. But it just wasn't meant to be. I did. I had this wonderful guy that does needles, acupuncture, and he does, massage and all that sort of thing. He came out and he worked on her quite a bit. So, but every time you'd sort of pat her, if you've got sort of like her shoulders and then sort of head down towards her tail, she'd sort of flinch. So I don't know whether there was anything spinal or whatever. We couldn't find anything. They checked her spine. We didn't take any x-rays or anything. But I always knew in the back of my mind when I saw her, she was so emaciated. I always wondered whether her frame would give out and would just sort of break down. Mm-hmm. And I think that was it. So she didn't make it to her 5th birthday, which kind of stings a little bit. All my dogs have died of old age. They've gone and had to let them go at a good old age. But when you lose one so young, it does hurt a little bit more, I think.
Absolutely. I think also you touched on one of the underlying sort of reasons that people don't think about, and that's dog reactivity due to them being in some sort of pain that people just aren't aware of.
No. I knew it. She was even different at home. She never attacked my dogs, Toby or Daisy. Mika had left me by this stage, the Rottweiler. She never went for Toby or Daisy or anything like that. She was just miserable. If I would try and take her out for walking, where she would just exert no pressure, just let her sniff. We saw my neighbour next door with Luna, and we've been out walking with those guys before. Lucky just wanted to tear her limb from limb. That's when I knew. I'd had her muzzle on, and I was thinking about it because whenever she saw other dogs, I thought, this is becoming pretty serious. But then when she saw Luna, it was like she was acting like she didn't know. So it was born of pain. So I made the decision. It's an easy one. But it's the best thing for her. You can't put your own emotions in these things. You have to look out for what's best for the dog. So, yeah.
Did she have any peculiar or weird habits, would you say?
The whole thing was weird. She was a nasty little bitch. No, she was larger than life in character. Even her ears had their own agenda. But she was pure joy. Everything she did with 100%. She was all in, She wasn't, peculiar little perks. Everything she did was weird. she was game for everything. When she was in her calm state of mind, when she was happy before she actually went downhill, she was up for anything. She was unreal. She was happy to be around. She was happy to work. She was, she was an incredible little dog. And then when it was quiet time, when we weren't working, she was making her own fun, so like cracking the zoomies and squeaking. She'd have a couple of little squeaky toys around the place. She'd say, "Oh, shut up!" But she was very happy-go-lucky, very happy-go-lucky. So she really was larger than life. She was a very big personality, and I've got to say that a lot of people that met her, a lot of people liked her. I really did. So she was good. I was very lucky for that dog to come into my life. So she was with me for a short time, but boy, oh boy, she taught me a lot.
Crammed a lot in.
Something that did she cram a lot in. And it's something that I'll be very, something that I will be very grateful for. And because she did teach me so much, all my dogs have taught me so much. I've now got this beautiful Monsimbi German Shepherd that all the training that I've learnt from those dogs put into him, and he's not a bad little sort now. So they do. I think, she's taught me to be a bit more humble and not judge. She's really taught me just to kind of sit back, consider, and read the dog and watch the dog. When you sort of train with dogs like this, just really read them. Don't take things too quickly. Go forward, go slowly, step by step. She has really taught me a lot. You can't really put it into words, can you? It's a bit hard to
can be
put this sort of
difficult.
thing into words.
I was just going to ask, at what stage when she was younger and you were training her, did you think then that she was going to become like more of your demo dog?
That's a good question. I think when I came out the other side of her true reactivity after that second charge that we got, that was one of the worst. The last two that we had were sort of fairly close together, but the last one actually broke her. I was sort of walking her, and a young child had a Staffy blend, and that dog broke away from him, ran across the road, nearly got hit, and it was coming. A Lucky Dog. If it wasn't for the guy behind me, I didn't see it. There was nowhere for me to go. But a guy had obviously come out to his front yard, and I didn't see him. He just sort of came. He obviously saw the dog coming towards us. He reached around me, grabbed its collar, and stopped it from doing damage to Lucky. I managed to get out of there. And as I was working through Lucky's reactivity, I just sort of started to see, of course, quite a while. It's a very dark time. But sort of as we came out the other end and I could see her starting to listen, and I started trusting her a bit more in sessions, and I could see her really liking it. That's when I started to do more, and that's when I started thinking, oh, she's pretty good at this. Particularly when I started introducing children. She seemed to love children. I started introducing children into the work where they were a bit nervous. She just had this way. So I just started building on it there. So probably she must have been about 2, I think. She's about 11. She would have been about 13, 14 months in that last attack. So it's around about the age of 2 and a bit, I think. So, yeah, that's when I thought, oh, she's pretty good. She's pretty good. She's not obviously going to be a dog that you can. And look, I didn't want a dog that needed to go out and party on it in off-lead dog parks and stuff like that. But if I had a dog that was able to stay on place, while I was working other dogs, and I could go near her and just kind of and she wouldn't react. She took her jobs very seriously. When I saw that she loved working, give her a job to do, she took it really seriously. That's when I thought, "Ooh, we've got something here. It's pretty good." And I remember when I went to see Glenn Cook, one of the darkest times that I had with Lucky Dog. I went to see him, and I suppose I just needed some, just to be told that I was on the right track with her. I'll never forget one of the things he actually said to me. He's like, "She's a lovely little dog, good little trainer, great little team." And I was like, "Oh, yes, okay." So I think, in the session that I had with him, I'd done everything right. They brought out dogs that she wanted to have, tail limb from limb. And my timing wasn't bad. Lucky performed beautifully, so that's sort of saying something. And it was sort of after that I thought, righto. And I think just to be told that what you've done is okay gives you a little bit more confidence, because certainly my confidence certainly had been shot to pieces. And yeah, I just think having a supportive bunch of people behind me made it a little bit easier. So you don't really understand what you go through until you get a dog like her, how the situation has to be managed, how and the work, the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it. And had one. Don't want another one, but I had one. She taught me a lot, but I truly now understand what people feel, the emotions that they go through with a dog like that, and I certainly get a little bit more, sympathetic when I'm dealing with them, because I understand.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom of my heart, understand. So yeah, she was a good dog.
What was the major type of training that you did with her, and the methods?
I do a lot of, with her, with all dogs, but predominantly with her, it was about returning to home base, finding me being the most valuable thing in her life and providing the motivation for her to listen to what I had to say. Over and above, I had to compete with her. I had to compete with and try and surpass that desire for her to go and get the other dogs. That was what she really wanted to do for quite some time. So I would go out, would work her on 5 metre long lines, and we would play. We would just play tug. We would just play games. I did a lot of, that's how she got her food, through training, fun training. But the be-all and end-all in her life, sort of probably a notch under me, was the tug game. And that's what I used to provide a lot of reward for her. She made a good choice, we would play. She made a bad choice, we would not play. She would go to a sit beside me and would just hang out for, a few seconds. When I feel her quiet down, chill down, we would play. So she learned that there was a lot of reward. She learned that there was a lot of good in just making good choices, making those decisions. So a lot of it was around gameplay. She wasn't that food motivated, so I had to find something, and tug was it. So, yeah, she loved it. So I had to carry a big tug toy everywhere I went, but I didn't mind. You got to do it. You got to do it. You got to do these things.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
They can come in handy for other things as well, and you're out and about.
Absolutely, they can. But yeah, so that was the main thing. A lot of conditioning, desensitization, counter conditioning, and then as she got used to that, it became, as I loaded more onto her, I exposed her more. It was the gameplay. Okay, but again, always keeping her safe and always trying not to let her be set up to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's a good girl.
Were there ever any times when you were using her in an exhibition type sort of thing that made you feel that extra sort of like, yes,
I got told when we went to a workshop, a 2-day workshop at Dural, somebody said, well, that dog would make my dog react. And I thought, oh, you bring it on, dude. So I went, I brought her in. She's way down. She didn't do a damn thing. So there you go. The other dog didn't react. She was actually a demo dog for a couple of things like that, just because she was so calm. I could even drop the lead, walk away, and she'd be like, "Yeah, this is what I'm doing." So it made me really, really proud of her. You know, like I just wanted to burst. Tyler Muto came to Australia, and I booked a one-on-one session with him, and he was very impressed with her. Said she was a great little dog, and I was like, "Well, I'm going to give my dog back." He was busy playing with her. He was playing tug with her, and we did some good stuff. So that made me feel, you know, about 10 feet tall as well. So there's been some times where people have actually worked a little bit with her and said, "Oh, yeah, she's pretty good." So she's there's too many times to count. She's, you know, whatever she did when we brought her around, you know, from sort of got her through her true aggression. She popped out the other side. Everything she did made me proud. She was just that sort of little dog because she didn't approach things half-assed. She'd just go in full on. You know, if she got it wrong, she'd be like, "Oh, well, let's try again." So I think it was her attitude sort of she was irresistible. You just couldn't. It was amazing. So yeah, she just made me proud all the time. Just hanging out, she made me proud. Yeah.
If you had to pick like a specialty or a segment of how she interacted with some of the other dogs when you went on consults, is that something that you could put into words?
I think that she just had an intuition for when they'd had enough. She would come out, she was all business. She would come out, she knew exactly what to do. And she would always work side on. She would never go front on for another fragile dog. She just seemed, we were a partnership. She just seemed to know exactly what I needed of her, exactly what was required at the time. And yeah, that's predominantly how I used her. It was just always worked at a distance, and we'd slowly close in, and she would always look up to see what it is I was needed. If I needed to, it would just be a word or two. If I had to give her verbal coaching, but really she was the guide. She was the one that I actually looked at. She was the one that I made sure we didn't overwork the other dog. And if the other dog started getting fidgety, Lucky would turn in towards me and would just kind of stop. It was almost like she'd take the pressure off the other dog. So as soon as she did that, I put her away and the other dog would settle down. So she just seemed to be very in tune with what I needed, with what the other dog needed. And that's what I watched. So she was the expert, not me, in those situations. So I just kind of followed her. She made me look good. It was incredible.
Absolutely. Oh, I love it.
I've got to work a little harder with all the other dogs I've got. But anyway, go a little bit off Lucky Dog there. So, yeah. No, but she did. She was the one that made me look good. She knew what to do. I read her. And this is what people say, trust your dog. So I did. Took a little while when she was carrying on like a hellhound for that 12 months. It took a little while for me to learn to trust her. But as we worked, but the thing is, though, even though those dogs that rushed me weren't my fault, I was on the end of the lead, and it's not what I couldn't protect her. So the trust had to be rebuilt, I think, and when it was rebuilt, I think it got even more solid and so much stronger than what it was. I think that's why we were able to be such a good team.
That certainly sounds it.
Yeah, she was cool.
Well worth it.
Yeah. There won't be another Lucky Dog. Okay. All the dogs I've had are amazing, but there won't be another Lucky Dog. Not like that, I don't think. I'd be lucky if, Kubo's pretty damn close to it, but I think you're blessed in your life if you're a dog like that. So I did. Not complaining.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one of the many, many, many fond memories, what's one of the first sort of ones that pop into your head?
Her morning zoomies.
The morning
Every
zoomies.
morning. It was like, we're starting the day. Here you go, Mum. Got your coffee? I am happy now. And it would probably last 5 or 10 minutes, but that was, for me, that was worth getting up for. her morning zoomies. Everything else was glorious, her training, her work ethic, everything. But she was such a nut when she would run around with her morning zoomies. That was true happiness. It was incredible. Plenty of video evidence of that too. So, yeah.
Very nice.
Never forget it.
Do you want to let people know of your social links or how to get in contact with you for anything that you do?
Yeah, I work on the Northern Beaches in Sydney. The business name is Perfect Behaviour. Oh, hello, puppy.
Yeah,
Perfect Behaviour.
I think that's a dinner signal.
Dinner bell. Perfect Behaviour.
Or a cat.
Train.
Sorry.
Well, and I think it's Perfect Behaviour on Instagram too. So, yeah.
I'll make
Yeah.
sure to put those links in. It has been a pleasure hearing all about
Thank
Lucky
you.
Dog. A nice journey, highs and lows, but mostly
I
positive.
appreciate you having me on to reminisce because, yes, it really was a special time in my life. So,
A special time for a very special dog.
yeah, she was. Thank you.
Thank you again. Take care.
You too, Robert. Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed the show. If you did, why not tell a friend? Just like those listeners in Council Bluffs in the USA and in Paris, France. It's really appreciated. Thank you very much. Feel free to jump on to the Facebook group, the Relaxed Dog Podcast, and give me some feedback. Until next time, stay safe and remember, your dog is family.